Hello, friends, and welcome to Binge O'Clock, the podcast where we watch something and then we talk about it. I'm Joy Selden, and I've seen almost everything.
I'm Danielle Nga, and I've seen almost nothing.
I'm Nella, and at the tone of the bell, the time will be the Inception episode.
It's Inception episode o'clock, everybody.
You know, I did find myself watching that episode and trying to remember when Inception came out.
2010.
We checked. We actually checked.
And this aired in 2011. Yes, this is entirely the Inception episode. This was everyone going like, hey, Inception, right?
Right.
That was popular.
Am I right? And
then they just lifted so many elements right out of that movie, including the subconscious turning on them.
Yeah, the militarized subconscious. Like, yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. Just like a smidge of the Matrix, you know? Like when Peter first shows up and he's in the middle of the street and then he's wearing those cool glasses and the long black coat. Just a smidge of Matrix in there.
just sneezed Matrix, just briefly.
With this, like, proto Bad Archer animation. Bless.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I didn't mind it. Look, I'm biased because I was endeared pretty quickly to it by, wait a minute, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Hi, everybody.
We said
We're
hello.
here today. I did say hello, but we're here today to talk about Fringe Season 3, Episodes 16 through 19. Right?
Yes. It was an extra long marathon this time, 4 episodes instead of the usual 3.
Yes.
Yeah, we covered 4 because there are definitely 3 episodes here at the end of Season 3 that really kind of can't be broken up. And these 4 episodes have to do with soul magnets and William Bell not really being dead. And
How do they work, Joy?
soul magnets, how do they work? Not well. I mean, well, I guess well.
Very well.
Maybe too well. Maybe
one
that's the problem.
Of the souls.
Yeah.
Only one there can only be one problem here. Yeah. Look, listeners, we're going to kind of talk about the plot for these episodes. We're going to touch on it a little bit, but mostly this episode is going to be talking about Bell-Livia, which is William Bell's soul basically crushing Olivia's soul to like take over her mind brain for these 4 episodes. But don't forget,
and we will get there, that was kind of her fault for being who she is.
Right? I hated that also.
Okay,
Yeah.
we can't get there yet. It's actually fine that we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about the B-plot and the monster of the week because as listeners of this show will know, I hyper-focus on the relationships anyway. I'm like, monsters? What monsters? Where are Peter and Olivia?
Oh, another episode where ableism kills? Yeah, okay.
They at least, you know what? I will give this episode the tiniest little bit of, I don't know what word I'm looking for calling it out at the end.
Yeah.
Because I think there have been other Fringe episodes where they just allowed it to happen and allowed it to exist in the space and never pointed to it and said, this is an icky thing that is happening here. But at least at the end of this episode, the scientist's son called him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing that I always come back to in whenever there's something unfortunate that happens, especially in science fiction shows, you almost always see these things in science fiction shows. But whenever something gross happens, you need in the canon for somebody to go, that was gross.
Exactly.
Because otherwise, what's the point? It's just a bunch of fandom being like, that was gross, right? Everybody knows that was gross. But if it's not actually in the canon, then it's almost like, well, what was the point?
You don't want anyone walking away from the episode being like, but he was just trying to help his son. And that was wrong and he should feel bad. Because his son didn't his son was doing very well for himself. He was on a sports team. He was living his life with his muscular atrophy, you know? Like,
dystrophy.
He was doing fine. Dystrophy, yeah.
And yes, he was happy.
Yeah.
He was happy. And he said in the episode of like, there's nothing wrong with me, Dad. And it bothers me that you think I'm broken. Like, thanks. And instead of being like, gee, Dad, I appreciate you trying to help, or whatever, like whatever dumb thing another show would have done. And this bothered me through the 90s. I saw this a lot where there was like nobody calling out any kind of behavior like this. And then finally in the aughts, we got it. We got there.
Like, look, is there something to be said about trying to find science that, you know, can like stop deterioration like this, you know? That that'd be great.
Without
but, like, to
hurting and murdering people, that would be awesome.
Fringe universe, everyone chooses murder.
Everyone chooses murder. So that's all we really need to, you know, really say about that.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the more important parts of this episode are that Nina finds out that Peter and Olivia are dating.
Yes, and boy, her relief with her secret knowledge of that, what that means for the universe is great.
You've made a wise choice, wink. You both deserve to be happy.
Yeah.
Nina went home and like cracked open. Well, no, she probably wouldn't drink a beer. She made herself a cocktail of something.
Nina drink?
No. When you find out news like that, you get yourself like a natty ice and like, or you know, it's just like the trashiest thing she could possibly drink. Like, and maybe we'll just at least give her like a Coors Light so that like she could twist it off with like her robot arm, and then just be like, I can't believe it. I can't believe.
See,
it all rests on who he wants to be with. How dare!
I was going to say it's either going to be the trashiest thing or the most decadent bottle. It's one or the other.
Yeah, that thing I was saving, you know, for we might die tomorrow. So
exactly.
I don't know. You know what? I feel like, you know, people out there, like, what would Nina Sharp reach for? The trashy thing she knows she shouldn't drink, but that she actually wants to, or like the really decadent thing that like. Well, why would I keep it for myself any longer? I just feel like when you're that rich...
Maybe we should do a poll.
Yeah, I just feel like when you're that rich, like, you're just like, oh, yes, I treat myself to the finest tastes and things, but, like, trashy margaritas... Like, I can't have those anymore. Well, guess what, Nina Sharp? I'm allowing you to have yourself a trashy margarita after your meeting with Sam Weiss.
Okay, wait. No. Now, really, really, really quickly, because this is a total sidebar, but I've been watching the show Evil, and one of the first things that we find out about the lead character is that she loves those little can margaritas.
Oh, my God.
Like, she has, like, 4 daughters and, like, a mother who's too involved in her life, and, like, she's just being pulled in 800 directions, and then she goes into her garage, cracks, like, a can, like, a little 8-ounce can margarita, and just, like, knocks it back, and then when everybody realizes that's her drink of choice, she's just like, what?
That's amazing. Listen, everyone has a vice.
Everyone's
also true.
Everyone's got that trashy drink that they reach for in times of crisis.
I would love to see the results of this poll. I do want to know what the audience thinks Nina drinks when she was in a celebratory mood.
Send us an email, reply to us on Twitter. I would in fact very much like to know what all of our listeners think.
So yes, happens.
At the end. So that happens. But at the end of this episode, you know, the entire episode, Peter's been like not really confiding in Olivia about the fact that he killed all these shapeshifters, that he has all their memory discs.
Yeah.
Whatever they are, the thing in their spine.
Despite, by the way, the quote game that they play together in the car, which I don't really consider a game.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem super fun to me.
You know what? All couples have like weird things that they do, and that's definitely one of them. And we'll just leave it for them to do.
So it's the full disclosure game where they take turns sharing very honest truths with each other. And, you know, Olivia takes advantage of a moment to throw a little shade in Peter's direction because, you know, I think her detective inspector spidey senses are just tingling and she can tell that he's hiding something. So she literally looks him in the eye and goes, "It's a great game if 2 people are playing." And I'm
so glad you caught that.
I love that shade that she throws in his direction. But yes, all of that leads Joy to his final admission.
Yes, this final admission where he brings Olivia to this warehouse where he's been trying to figure out the problem with the shapeshifters and how they connect to everything. And then a bell is rung. The bell that William Bell gave to Nina is rung because Walter is just like, soul magnets. Belly talked about soul magnets. He did this. I know he did this. Mm-hmm. And then William Bell comes back into Olivia's body.
The first
and the
thing
accent is as terrible as you can imagine.
Oh, yes.
Nella had many opinions as soon. Like, from the very first syllable, she was like, no,
wait,
don't do this.
Before we get into the impression, though, if someone gave me a bell, I don't care how special or important that bell is, the very first thing I would have done is pick up the little thing and ring it. That's the absolute very first thing I would have done.
Hell yeah.
What?
Same. Hard samesies.
That's been sitting on our shelf this entire time and no one has rung the bell this entire time? That's ridiculous. Okay, now we can talk about the impression.
No, same. The three of us agree. Look, I don't understand how Nina has resisted this whole time. And I mean, not only the impression, but like William Bell shows up in this like moment of Peter opening up, and I'm just like, oh.
Like right after Peter finally tells Olivia that he has the discs, and they get that great moment where she goes, wait, but how did you get the discs? And they all just look at each other like, oh, Peter chose murder.
So this is my murder board. I had to commit murder to make it, but I think you'll find it's actually really well done. And it doesn't really matter.
The red,
and I think we should just focus.
What did you say? The red yarn really brings out
how the red thread really brings it all together. And then I'm telling you about it now when I could have just kept keeping it from you. And I think we should really just take it from there. Let's not look too into this.
She didn't know that she was walking into a murder wall. She thought that he was inviting her across campus for a makeout session.
And then there's William Bell.
And then there's William Bell, which unfortunately a lot of people maybe, decided that we needed to not only try to mimic the accent of Leonard Nimoy, but we needed to mimic the accent of old Leonard Nimoy and do an old man voice. And boy, does it not work. And I don't like, this would be hard. I think, Shatner's easy to do an accent on. Nimoy, I think
these are
the thing about Nimoy is that it's the cadence. Yeah. I don't know anyone who could probably really pull off a Leonard Nimoy impression. Like even Spock, like, because it's the cadence, it's the diction, it's how it's said, not so much like the accent of it. So when you try to put on this old man accent, it feels so fake and awful, and I hated it. And there were times where it mellowed out and it actually started to not grate like fingers on a chalkboard. And like, look, like the actress, like she got the eyebrow down though. That was great, but still,
and the awkward flirtations with Astrid.
Stop flirting with Astrid. Stop complimenting Astrid.
No,
Stop it.
Uncomfortable.
Stop it.
Uncomfortable.
This is not the ship I asked for.
I mean, but the two of them together are just kind of gross. Like even that moment where William Bell is talking about how restrictive a bra is, and at the word bra, they both kind of just look at each other and snigger. I'm like,
I know.
Ew.
What are you, preschoolers? God, you must have been insufferable in the 70s. How did Nina put up with this? God,
Nina. With her very special drink.
Boys.
God, Nina was just way too freaking thirsty for William Bell. She could have done so much better. Nina, we need to talk.
We need to talk about your life and your choices.
You remember that brief moment in the show where we kind of liked William Bell and we were like, maybe he's not, but don't worry, the show fixed that for you. Mm-hmm. We don't like William Bell anymore.
Everything, including the comforting tea that he gave her, was a lie.
Yep.
Including the tea.
Including the tea.
The tea was a lie.
And just in case you listeners don't exactly remember when this happens, apparently when Olivia went over to the other side, the tea that he gave her to supposedly help her like acclimate to her trip traveling through between universes, I mean. That had the soul magnets in it. So he's been planning this since season 1, was it?
Even before, really, because that's when he first planted the soul magnets in her.
Right.
But before he planted the soul magnets in her, he had to create the soul magnets and he had to test them on the rats. Right? So this has been a very long-term plan.
This whole thing is just, honestly, it's just disgusting. It shows how, William Bell and Walter Bishop are two scientists who have very little moral codes.
Yes.
Very if little, at all.
very little regard for the value of human life or an individual person's life. And that's really what it is, right? Because they would say, oh, but we're saving billions, hundreds of millions of lives by killing this one person. Don't you agree that that's worth it? So the value of a single human life is what they fail to see. Right. Every time.
Yeah. Which is ultimately why, look, murder Peter aside.
Those weren't people.
Those were people. They weren't people until season 3.
Yeah.
And then the show made them people. Gee, thanks. But this is ultimately why I will always love Peter's response of I would find a third way. I would try not to damn everyone, and I would, try to hurt as few people as possible while saving as many lives as possible. And that's where he attempts to approach it as much as possible. Murder aside. Look, I know the wobbly legs I'm standing on are wobbly. I see it. I know.
We all acknowledge
how wobbly my stance is.
They're held together with a little glue and sawdust.
So William Bell ends up dropped into Olivia's consciousness, and basically she's just squished down into her subconscious.
He tries to tell everyone that she's just resting. She's just asleep in there. Look at her brainwaves, so relaxed. And he tries to tell them that he's done these experiments on rats and she can stay suppressed, unharmed, and resting for weeks without being affected.
Well, now,
it would be fine.
He doesn't admit to the rat thing until
no, he does
stuff
not.
Actually starts hitting the fan.
He's a liar. He's a liar. And Broyles, because Broyles is Broyles, gives him 48 hours. 48 hours, and then I am pulling you out of my agent.
Yeah. Basically, William Bell's we're good for a couple of weeks. And Broyles no, you get 2 days. 2 days to find a suitable replacement because I want my agent back, which thank God Broyles is there.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I found myself Broyles, the real MVP in these episodes.
And that's really the central conflict, I think, over the next 3 episodes. It is just them attempting to find another host for Bellavia living in Olivia's body. And, some cases.
Peter being grumpy about it.
Peter being very grumpy about it.
I would be grumpy
being
too.
Incredibly uncomfortable. Yes. Well, yes, he's grumpy because Olivia... we're going to get to it. Because Olivia didn't agree to this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and this is exactly, in a lot of ways, Peter has been waiting to actually have real connections with his Olivia for a very long time. First he didn't realize it wasn't her, and then, and then he got her back, and then there was that period of where they weren't together, and then they were finally together, and then this happens again, and he's just I just want to be with my girlfriend.
Just want to be with Olivia. And also he also needs other people to stop taking over his girlfriend's body.
Also this. What about this? What if we did
maybe
that?
Don't do that.
What if we did that? I feel really, look, Anatorv, for the impression aside, because these are big shoes to fill, and like Nella said, I don't know, Leonard Nimoy's voice is difficult in any stage of his life, because it changed so frequently. And, you know, it got gravelly really quickly when he was in his 40s. And like a lot of people who don't necessarily know Spock on Star Trek would also know him as having this gravelly voice since the 60s. So, I mean, like, there's a middle ground I can kind of accept there. I do think her it's just big shoes to fill. She did as much as she could. But I think she's also having the frickin' time of her life where she's just like, oh, yeah, I get to be William Bell. This is great.
I kind of enjoy like the way that she stands and the way that she slouches around and the way that she moves her face when she's playing him. Like all three of those things, like the physical aspects of that she brings to the character, I think are really interesting.
Yes, I completely agree. I think she's just, you know, she's having a lot of fun. She's trying some things out, which I think because Olivia Dunham has a very specific swagger to her body that is not William Bell, decidedly not. And like, there's a lot of like very close work with, you know, with Walter when they're like tinkering with something.
They work so well together. The moment when they solve the word problem together on opposite sides of the board is one of my favorite things.
Yes. Yeah. And they say the answer at the exact same moment. I mean,
she's on the 625. Astrid looking on. They're not finishing each other's sentences. Listeners, this is when there are 3 possible trains that could be arriving at a specific station, and they have to figure out math.
It's a word problem. But literally, like, Walter's like, ooh, I love word problems, you know?
And then they're on opposite sides of a glass board writing at the same time, but in opposite directions.
Like monsters.
Like
monsters.
Total monsters.
Like science monsters.
It's so beautiful.
It's very
because
beautiful.
Because they are such bad people. But they are so good at what they do. And you can't stop staring at it.
I mean, like, I think there's something to be said about William Bell founding Massive Dynamic and then having Nina to deal with people and him going to deal with the science inside his head, which is not the same thing. Like, yes, maybe he would, you know, I 100% believe that Nina was like, you can have 6 rats. You're not getting any people. Unless I have consent forms. Will they consent, Billy? Like, you know? Like, I think this is the restraint kind of taken away, which, goes back to, like, Walter and William Bell working together. And it's really lovely to see, even though, as you said, there's such horrible people. And inevitably, as with most things, they don't have a couple of weeks because a bell sounds off in the distance somewhere and we get a flash of Olivia back in her body having no idea what's happening and very, very frantically panicking. And then William is back of like, oh, that's a problem. Don't know what's happening there.
And that's when we realize Olivia is not, in fact, resting peacefully in her subconscious.
Nope.
She really, really, really needs to not be there anymore. Before we get into that, how do we feel about Agent Lee?
I mean, I love him in our universe. He's just a big
I like
nerd.
him in our universe. He is such a...
I kind of love him being... what is the name for that type of character who walks into a space where, because we've been watching these people for 3 seasons, we almost forget how weird it is. Yeah. And he walks in and he's like, I'm sorry, what?
Well, it's the Doctor Who companion. It's the inevitable person who has to go, it's bigger on the inside. Inevitably.
Everyone just... Fringe division. What division?
Everyone always stops to admire Jean. And then continues on into the
Jean,
room.
huh?
No, yeah. This is
soul vampire.
There is a soul vampire.
Soul.
A considerate soul vampire. I appreciate that he just kind of shows up and it's almost like he's just like, I'm just going to go with it because obviously there's something already weird happening to me. Because I'm following this case of this woman who apparently refuses to die. Wow. What? You know, And
no, I'm gonna keep quoting him, which I know is terrible.
No,
but
that's fine.
I love this version of him where he's literally, he's like, we found her fingerprints, which is insane because she's dead. And everyone now, and Nina goes, well, stranger things have happened. And he goes, no, they haven't.
No, they haven't. No, they haven't.
No, they haven't.
I really do appreciate that Lincoln in our world has no idea what's happening. Meanwhile, Lincoln in the other world is now running Fringe Division. Like, it is a complete 180 to the whole. And, like, look, I really love this actor. I think he does great. I think he does great work. I love that he also is very different in both universes. Like, even in the way he acts, the way he looks, and, you know, wearing the glasses and the button-up, you know, suit versus the, oh my God, what is he even wearing?
His mannerisms.
Yeah, his mannerisms are completely different. Does he have, like, colored hair in the alternate universe? Am I wrong? I might be wrong.
No, but it like sticks up a little. It's more jaunty.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
you know, he's got a more jaunty cut.
It's the anime boy, like frosted tips that I'm imagining.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're actually frosted or not, but they're frosted.
They might as well be
in my brain. Yes, exactly. They might as well be. Might as well be frosted. But yeah, I just love how completely different he is from one universe to the other. And, like, it's just really nice to see that. And I know we've kind of seen that before, but we haven't really seen that with a particular character being, like, just 180 opposite.
Yeah.
Even faux Olivia is like Olivia.
That's true.
I just love that Charlie is pretty close in both.
Yes.
In both universes. He's just got more swagger in the alternate, but otherwise it's still Charlie.
Yeah.
Charlie and his date with Mona.
His date with Mona. Oh my God. We both got very happy and started, like, clapping. It was like, you went on a date with Bug Girl. Yeah, he went for it.
He did it.
That moment was so ruined for me by, the link that I very much dislike.
Yes.
Because then Scarly and Link have that conversation where Scarly tries to get Link to admit that he has a thing for Liv, his Liv.
Yeah.
And Link literally says, if she was going to cheat on Frank with someone, you would think. I was like, ew.
Yeah, and then he, like, barely finishes the sentence, but we all know what the finish of the sentence was, and we're all just like, no.
Ew.
No, Fred, no. This is like, is this the, you know, this is like the definition of the nice guy of just like, I'm just going to be your friend and bide my time. And it's like, please don't.
Spare me.
Please
right?
don't.
What if you didn't?
What if you didn't?
What if you didn't?
And I'm just like, I also just love that Scarly is like, if you just freaking admit it, and then you could just be like, but by the way, she doesn't want you. You're welcome. Like, she, not only did she say yes to the proposal, and
Frank.
To Frank, which, you know, didn't happen because she was pregnant with someone else's kid, but she, quote, had an affair with someone else, and was just like, it's just, she's not that into you. Get over it.
She's just not that into you. And I kind of love how, I know we're skipping to the end of this episode, when she's giving birth and they're having that tearful moment, she's clutching onto him and he's like, this is it. This is my moment to be here for her. I love you. And she doesn't say it back.
Yep.
I'm like, yes, Liv.
I mean,
you know what? She's not concerned with that right now. She's concerned with save the baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Lincoln had to say it. And she had to ignore it.
It's like exercising a demon.
Yes.
You just have to let the poison out, and then we can all
you gotta lens that boil. I really don't want to talk about the plot in this episode, but we're gonna touch on it real fast, and then we're gonna move on.
Okay.
Because we've seen this before with the accelerated pregnancy body horror. Not quite to this graphic extent, maybe. We've had the tearing sound in season 1, but it wasn't
true.
Oh, your stomach is like moving. And we're going to spend a whole episode watching that. Unpleasant. But, you know, the point is that the secretary has hired a bunch of doctor/mercenary people to kidnap Olivia and accelerate her pregnancy to make sure that she doesn't die or that the baby doesn't die because of VPE, which we find out in this episode that she does in fact have, and that more than likely the doctor would have, terminated the pregnancy, had some trauma counseling.
Yeah, can we just talk about that for a second? Wow, alternate universe getting one thing right, where it's just like, oh yes, that like, let's talk about your options. We can schedule like that because this is a thing that will kill you. It will kill you.
Yeah,
it kills you. So
and
we'll take
maybe
care
the
of
baby.
it. We have trauma response for it. Well, we're gonna get you the help you need. Bless.
And that's the choice that Olivia would have made.
Yeah.
Until it was cruelly torn away from her by Walternate.
Yeah. And the nuts thing to me is he could have probably told her, hey, we have this, like, look, it's on the down low. We've been experimenting with it, but we think we can save the pregnancy. Are you willing to try?
Like, this is a very experimental something or other. It's not approved by anybody. There are risks to both you and the baby, but there is a chance that we could accelerate the pregnancy too fast for this viral preeclampsia to take effect, which that's not how preeclampsia works, but it's fine. We're gonna hand wave it.
That's not how viruses work, but it's fine.
We can't talk about the fringe science or the bad science or whatever it is.
I know.
We would talk for too long.
I know.
But yes, absolutely. There is a world in which he could have just sat her down and let her make a decision with him. And instead, he kidnapped her.
I mean, look, ultimately, Walternate, well, first of all, is the person that will opt to do the thing and then ask for forgiveness later if he ever asks for forgiveness. But also, he's not, like, if she had said no, he would have done it anyway.
I know.
And that's,
so then, like,
but then,
why
but
not
the
ask
problem
first,
is, and
you know?
then she would know that he was behind it though because he brought it up to her originally.
Exactly.
Fair.
Like, this is the dude who, like, he tells Lincoln, which honestly I had completely forgotten that he comes clean to Lincoln about a couple of things, and then I was like, why would he? Oh wait. I was like, he's probably desperate to find her because he already knows that she's, like, escaped a thing. And it's just like, no, we actually need everybody possible looking for her because, you know, she definitely needs some help in actually giving birth to this child regardless of everything.
Right.
And, you know, he, like, admits to some things, which, of course, in turn makes Lincoln and Scarly both go, well, what else have you kept from us?
Yeah,
I love that they're on the scent now.
Yeah, because for them, it's not so much like, well, he lied to us, but then they start putting the pieces together of Broyles.
Yep.
What happened to Broyles? And what else don't we know?
Yep.
I also kind of love that all of that started with Henry.
I know.
I know, Henry.
Henry! Who's been...
Before we actually talk about Henry, I also love that, like, Walternate is staring out a window going, and all this from a cab driver. I'm just like, a cab driver. A piece I missed on the chessboard.
Yes. Because it's just like Hitchcock, Walternate. You can never plan the perfect murder. There's always going to be something you overlook. Like the cab driver.
Yeah, no, it was such a dramatic moment. Anyway, yes, let's talk about how great Henry was in this episode.
Which, the reason they track him down is because he's been driving past Olivia's apartment every now and then just to check on her, because he's kind of worried. Farnsworth is the one who puts that together.
Yes.
Love this for Farnsworth.
Yes.
No, I especially love, like, look, okay, here, like, we're going to start talking about we've already started talking about it, like, the lack of autonomy that each Olivia has in this series.
Yes.
But, like, the doctor, I think you mentioned it, Danielle, when we were off air, of, like, the doctor talking to the mother and telling the mother this highly personal healthcare information.
Now again, like, the Olivia might have given the office permission to speak to her mother about this. You know, like that's not outside of the realm of possibility. The problem is when then everyone starts blabbing about the condition Olivia has.
And I don't know, like, I feel like, yes, there's a possibility that could be true, but that moment where her mom gets the news and then she's looking off in the distance at the child who's across the park and thinking, and my interpretation of that moment is that mom is thinking to herself, should I tell Olivia this information?
Oh, no, I did not interpret that at all.
Is that what's going on here?
God, no, I interpreted that as like looking at the future you'll never have.
Yeah, like, I can't tell. I think I'm a really cynical person with a real lack of trust. Because I saw her doing that and I was like,
No, this woman's already lost one daughter and grandchild to this thing. Like, that's looking at her last chance and realizing it's not feasible.
I mean, that is a good point. Like, this is a mother who has already lost one daughter and grandchild.
True.
It's, you know, I think it's just her dealing with the loss of what could possibly have happened and then just having to acknowledge the fact that she just won't ever have it. And, like, maybe that's why it takes her a minute to go to Lincoln and be like, no, but you don't understand. She cannot have this baby. She will die. The baby will die.
Yeah.
But like,
I still don't love that mom went and told Scarly and told Lincoln. I mean, it's kind of not cool,
but like,
right?
But when you're in a hostage situation or you know, a kidnapping situation, you kind of have to let the police know, like, everything possible that might be pertinent. Like, they have diabetes, she's pregnant and she can't be. Like, that's, I don't know. Like, I don't love it for this universe, but then again, she was, like, literally kidnapped. So
for me, it weirdly betrays this idea that they're all super close, and I just never got. Olivia's mother knows Lincoln because, like, they grew up together and went to high school together. It's like, no, but that's not what's happening here. That's not. They're not these people.
Yeah. They go to the gym together and they talk about the gains, bro. But
yes,
that's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the reason I love that this information, like, filtered down to everybody is by the time that it gets to Agent Farnsworth, and I'm like, and I'll bet you that's where the information stops, because Agent Farnsworth is a professional and she would never talk about anything like that with people who are not cleared.
So true. So true.
She is the responsible adult in the room.
I just love them being like, this is level 10. You need to find someone with level 10 clearance who would know this information. She's like, I can't even know that information.
I'm not level 10.
No, wait. I'm not level 10.
That's not me. You must need someone else. Well, you are now, just on this particular topic, okay? Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh my
and then
God.
she's a professional and gets to work. No, Farnsworth is very important to the team. Irreplaceable.
She's an integral part of the team?
Irreplaceable. She is, integral, but also irreplaceable because they wouldn't understand half the stuff they do. Even the stuff she can't answer, where it's just like, no, we can't answer that answer or probability. It just, nope. Like.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, yes.
I love her. No, I love her. Love Henry. Henry comes through so many times in this episode.
Right? Solid.
He gets Lincoln Scarly onto the right trail.
Yes.
He's a cabbie and knows every shortcut.
Yep.
So he's able to get Link to live on time. He helped his wife give birth to his baby in the back of his cab.
Now, okay, so sometimes there's like, and then this character fills in all the plot gaps, and that last one,
and that's what they do with Henry here.
Yeah, that last one definitely felt a little wedged, little wedged in there.
Yeah.
However, I was like, you know what? I bet the traffic is really bad in this world, and $5 says they were stuck in traffic, and he was like, nope, we're just delivering the baby here. That's it. That's just how this is going. And he like hopped in the back seat.
He really was not very helpful at all during that birth scene.
Can we talk about I mean, I think we were in Chinatown. The Chinese woman who was just looking.
The entire crowd outside the windows were just looking and clapped briefly afterwards.
And so this is something else. When we were watching this episode, we were also watching it with friends. And one of our friends was just like, why aren't they doing anything? And like, as soon as like Olivia kind of like falls into that crowd and then a woman is just like, oh my God, what's wrong? Are you okay? I was like, every human being on the planet who sees a very pregnant woman suddenly like look like she's in pain and maybe not stable on her feet, every single human being internally is going, oh my God, the baby's coming. Every person. That's it.
Yeah.
There is no other thing. And like a lot of times we don't want to admit it because you don't want to be like looking at a very pregnant woman like they're a ticking time bomb. But that is like innately in our blood. And I don't understand how all of these people were not like, oh my God, is the baby coming? Like, what?
Yeah.
Let me call an ambulance for you. Oh my goodness. Like, no, they're watching the show. It was very frustrating.
The crowd was very weird in that scene, and I did not like it. It was almost like they weren't really actually humans, but like, I don't know, like holograms or something. Like,
I do like the only explanation I have for something like that is that the people of this world have just become so dimmed by everything either being explained to them or told to them, or like they can't brain for themselves anymore, and they just like depend on other people. And I don't know that that's correct, but like that's my only explanation for why they decided to have a literal crowd of people not doing anything.
Yeah, just staring at this woman lying on the ground.
I, for one, call shenanigans on the fact that in the alternate universe, which is technologically more advanced by us by a couple of years, still has phone booths anywhere. I remember back in 2012 reading articles about like the last 2 phone booths in Manhattan.
I also remember
where
this.
you can find them.
There was a movie called Phone Booth.
Oh yes, I forgot about that movie.
I remember it because it was very close to my school, but at the time, but it was like one of the last phone booths in New York. You know, it was just it's such a weird bygone era. Also, I think, and I might be wrong, but I feel like we were in the same section of Chinatown that in our universe had the hookworm things. But I also don't know if that was just the same set or the same location that they used. But I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this like black market Chinatown neighborhood. I don't
Nonsense.
know. I don't like it.
Yeah, I know. It's always that way, though. It's always that way. Like if there's a warehouse that's out of the way and there's something happening that's a little bit suspicious, it's happening in Chinatown. We talked about this with Almost Human, too.
I know.
This is just like a sci-fi thing, which it's frustrating and I don't love it, but
here we are.
There it is. Here we are.
But here we are. I guess we
forget
live
it,
here now.
Jake. It's Chinatown.
But the long story short is Peter's son is born, and he's fine. He seems
Question
fine.
mark? I mean, I remember the first time sitting through this episode, I was just like waiting for the moment for that baby to get stolen.
I know.
When the nurse picks him up and then the other attendant picks him up and then, the mom's looming and I'm like, when's the baby going to get stolen? But I do think, I guess it actually does make sense that Walternate would like this child to be raised in what he considers as stable an environment as possible, which means with the mother.
Right.
Right? I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's, also Walternate has to keep up the facade of like not having any idea that this happened, like, oh my goodness, are you okay? And, meanwhile being the mastermind behind the whole thing.
Yeah.
I hate it. I don't like it. I didn't like it when I first watched it. I don't like it when I watch it again. Not a fan.
And
not a fan of this episode.
She gives birth to the baby. They take a blood sample from the baby, and the blood sample is passed to Evil Brandon and then passed to Walternate. And then, because this show loves to do this to us, that's the cliffhanger for the Red Universe.
Yep.
And we jump directly into episode 19, which is back in our, and here we will insist, Blue Universe.
Yep. It's blue and you can't convince me otherwise. So yes,
the animated episode.
The animated episode. It's the trippy episode. I like it. I don't need a lot to the Inception episode. I don't need a lot to just go with something. And the fact
it's just such a ripoff of Inception, though. I actually found myself getting annoyed by it.
Oh no, 100%. I do. So I don't know at what health point Leonard Nimoy was in the filming of all these things. I do know he makes. I think he makes another like past appearance or something at some point in the rest of the show, but like he doesn't really come back per se after this. There's like one other instance where we have Leonard Nimoy, but even that is not him on camera. And I think at this point in his health treatment, he was no longer really able to film. I may be mistaken in that. I do know there was some complication with like getting him on set and like having him like that's the reason we have the cartoon is because we couldn't have Leonard Nimoy. So like any of the shots with Leonard Nimoy in them are cartoons because it all had to be voiceover. I mean, there's a lot we're able to do. Like you have Leonard Nimoy running around. You got him like lounging in his office, riding a motorcycle,
jumping onto a Zeppelin.
Yeah, I mean, you have to figure, like, if you're thinking about so he dies in 2015. By 2014, they had announced, like, health issues he had because of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, because he had been a smoker for 30 years. You know, this episode comes out 2011. 2011, well, although also was Transformers Dark of the Moon. By 2013, we had Star Trek Into Darkness, which was, like, the last movie he was in, and then after that it was a documentary for the love of Spock.
He basically stopped appearing in movies after 2010, 2011. And I don't know if that was due to health issues or if it was just easier for him to do voiceover work. Like, I mean, if you think about Star Trek Into Darkness coming out, they would have had to film that 2 years before it actually came out in theaters because of all the extra.
Yeah, you could say that.
You know, like, Well,
filming began in 2012 for Into Darkness. It says.
Okay. But my point is, like, he's not even in the same scene with anyone. He's in that movie. He's in his own shot with his own camera. Like, he's not acting across from anybody. That's like a day in a studio.
And a brief, a day in a studio is definitely, not a full episode where you're one of the main characters. Like,
right. Exactly. And I most of this is speculation. I just think this was a way to continue to have William, like a nice little ribbon on William Bell's story, while also taking into account that Leonard Nimoy's health was starting to fail. Sweet and also terrible because William Bell does not take any responsibility for anything he's doing in this entire episode, and it bothers the crap out of me.
Or doesn't.
But that's that tracks
I know
so much with the character that they've created in this show and with who William Bell is. Like, he's brilliant, but he's selfish. So selfish. Like, at the end, when you see Walter's utterly destroyed because, you know what? Belly doesn't like to say goodbye. And so he doesn't.
And so he doesn't.
And Walter doesn't get to have any closure with his absolute best friends.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's very true to character. I will give you that. We built, a man who was way more science than he was human. And that's just who we got. I will say there are a few key moments that I think were important between him and Walter, where it was just you keep looking to me for how to proceed but I don't think I'm the one you should be looking at because you're the one who's learned humility. You're the one who's grown and changed. And I think that's also William Bell admitting that he kind of never did. He got really lucky. Yeah. He had massive dynamic. He became a billionaire. And then he continued to not care about anybody else and became a megalomaniac. I don't know. I the idea that this was also, I don't know how early he thought about the soul magnets and the children they were experimenting on and forget the alternate universe. That became Walter Bishop's thing. That was, William Bell was how cool, and decided to jump between them. But Walter cared. And I think that was also him just being yeah, you know what? You've got this because I never progressed.
Right. Yeah.
And at least knowing himself enough to be like, I think you should just do what you think is right. What a shocker.
Exactly. What a shocker. You're right. He never progressed past that young, power-hungry, godlike person he thought he was.
Right.
And so he can't actually do anything to improve the world. You know, if he never moves past that point, then he can't do anything to fix or repair the world because everything he does is just for him or just for science or just for kicks. Yeah. And we need more from Walter than that.
Right. And can I just say one tiny thing that always bothered me is like the fact that William Bell shows up right when we're talking about the shapeshifters. We never return to the point. We never talk about the shapeshifters while William Bell is actually in Olivia's body, as far as I can remember, and it bothers the crap out of me. I'm just like, what, did we look at the papers on your desk that you said were there?
Now, we don't have time to unpack all of that, Joy.
It's fine.
We literally don't.
I know.
Because we still have to talk about the whole twist with Olivia's mind and the reason she wasn't able to rest peacefully in her own subconscious.
There's the reason the show gives us, and then there's the reason I have decided. But Danielle, please explain.
I'll give you the show reason, and then you can give us the headcanon reason, which I hope I you know what? It must be better than the show reason because I hate the show reason.
Right.
Anything must be better than this. So anyway, we're in Inception. Peter is being Peter, and he's using what he knows and loves about Olivia to find where she is hiding in her subconscious, because Olivia would find a safe place, and Peter knows where that safe place would be. They encounter all kinds of enemies. We'll get into that. Very interesting.
Essentially, everyone they encounter in her brain, you know, it's almost like this dreamscape of like walking around New York City, and everyone's dressed like Olivia, which was my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then,
like, they raided her closet. So good.
Yes. Everyone's wearing the blacks and grays.
Walter dies. Then Peter dies.
Yep. And then it's just William Bell.
Though before Peter dies, I do enjoy that he gets just the tiniest bit of redemption where he sees a version of Olivia that it turns out is not the real Olivia, and he's actually able to look her in the eye and notice that that is not the woman he is in love with. And I'm like, look, he's learning.
Look, Peter did the thing. Peter did the thing.
And finally, at the end of it, at the end of the entire thing, when Olivia has had her triumphant moment where she tells her subconscious that she is not scared of it, Belly reveals his theory, which is that he was right all along, and his experiments were real and true. The issue is her, and that any other person would have been safe in their subconscious, but Olivia wasn't safe in her subconscious because she has never been safe. Or she has never felt safe. That's literally what he says. You should have been safe inside your mind, except that it's you, and you've never felt safe. So it was her feelings' fault.
And inevitably, Nella and I went, and why is that, William Bell?
And why is that, William
Why
Bell?
is that?
If only we could get to the root cause of Olivia's trauma.
Right? Instead of telling her that she is her own worst enemy and not placing any kind of blame on them.
And all they had to do to fix it, well, then again, it's William Bell, and this is why we don't like William Bell, because all he had to do to say to fix it was, and we helped cause that. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
That was it. That's all he had to say.
That's all he had to say.
All you had to say.
That's all I have to say.
Oh my God. It's so annoying.
Instead, he pretty much, he might as well have said, and I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah, right.
But.
Well, now, okay, so now this might be them trying not to get copyright infringement on Inception. Because all I could think about was like, her consciousness was not prepared to be squished down, so yeah, it's fighting back. because that's the thing that happens in Inception. It's like you are a foreign body and we need to get rid of you. It's basically the white blood cells of your dreamscape. They're like, nope, you're not sticking around here. Nope, because your subconscious is strong enough to kick you out. Which, blah, 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 Inception science, it's fine. But
I mean, all they had to do was be like, oh no, it's the Cortexa fan. We did this. Oh no, we militarized her mind like fools.
Well, but even that, militarizing one's mind is also Inception. Because
it's like a little too much like the green they used on Wicked Witch that they had to, you can't use that's copyrighted.
This is what I'm saying. Like, there's a dumb part of me that's like, were you so worried about copyright, which by the way you should have been, you wrote an Inception episode, that like you couldn't actually give it any kind of vaguely realistic dream science. Like this is like you're, the subconscious trying to figure something out or whatever,
Well, or at least that gives it an explanation that isn't so, if you weren't so broken, this wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah.
Sorry, the listeners couldn't see that. I basically just angry Muppeted at my computer.
She did. It's true.
It was perfect.
It makes me so mad. It's like all he would, again, this is the thing where it's like all you have to do in canon is acknowledge the bad thing is bad. And we didn't do that. We instead blamed Olivia because, of course, like faux Olivia, it doesn't matter. Both of them are wrong and broken and have problems, and it's fine.
And this is just where we live now. The end.
And now she's going to die.
I know. And now she's going to die. That's the man in the X is the man who's going to kill me. Bum, bum, bum.
Okay.
One more thing.
One more things.
Wait, I'm stealing the quick one more thing.
Yes, go ahead.
We did not talk about high broils.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I was like,
only the greatest moment of cinema ever. Oh, my God. The look on his face will keep me warm at night.
The combination.
We never get to see him smile, and we never get to see him enjoy things.
I know.
And just the very pure happy that he feels when he's looking at the swirl on a red vine. And that little whistle that he does, and that little wave when he sees a bird on Walter's shoulder is just... This is what Broyle needs in his life, and I would like Broyle to get high. I think perhaps Broyle should get high more often because
just a little bit of LSD.
It seemed like a very enjoyable place.
Right?
Well, he did get a little dark when he was talking about death. Just a little bit.
But I think that was something he needed to unpack. He needed to tell Astrid that I saw death and death was me. And then he holds hands with Astrid because that's who Astrid is in this show. She's the one who takes you through those moments.
Yes.
But he never would have unburdened in that way if he hadn't been high.
She's a very good trip mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really appreciated him too. It's a good one more thing. Nella, do you have one?
Yeah. I mean, my only question is, what else are you supposed to do when your boss rolls up with Mary Jane and wants to smoke with you? Say no, which is what happens to, like, the night security guard at Massive Dynamic, and there's Walter with a bong. And I'm just like, man, not a boss, but I was there with a teacher once, and that was an experience, so I feel ya, You're the authority figure. I guess I'm just going along with this.
I love how much they laugh. I have two because, of course, I'm cheating, but I'll try to make them very fast. The first one is Astrid calling Walter Wally.
Yes, I loved that. You ready, Astro? Anytime, Wally.
Anytime, Wally.
Sure am.
I know.
Sure am, Wally.
Yeah. Yeah, see how that feels.
And he actually does kind of a double take when she calls him Wally.
And she just kind of smirks at him like, what? And then the other one is the zombie Brendans.
The zombie Brendans.
Oh, my God.
Peter fights off an army of zombies.
Zombie Brendans everywhere. Like, more than half of our One More Things were from the last episode, even though it's fraught with nonsense.
Well, here, I'll give you another Astrid moment.
Okay.
When Walter asks her to clean up the extra blood, and she goes, I went to Quantico for this.
That was way too much blood from those bodies. Like, those bodies have been sitting in that freezer for too long. Like that, no. Not that many gallons, no.
So much.
Not for bodies that desiccated. And I have to say, there was some really good frozen dead bodies in that walk. Like, there was some good,
It was like a close-up of a
effects
face
going on. Yeah. It was like, I could feel the freezer burn on it. It was great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That shot's actually one of my favorite shots in the show. It's just like an FX of like a frozen face, like, and it's just like,
yeah. No one listening could see the faces we just made, and you really missed out. We might have to take a screenshot of the Zoom recording and post it on the Twitter.
I would love that. Okay, we will do that right after we sign off. So, listeners, we would love to hear from you. Please check us out at Binge O'Clock Pod on Twitter and Facebook, where you can answer the question, what is your Inception totem and why? You can also email us at bingeoclockpod@gmail.com. And don't forget, we have a Patreon. Find us at patreon.com/BachPod.
That's right. And tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones, tell the live lobsters in your life about Binge O'Clock, and we will see you next time.